Ben Shapiro on Medicare and Social Security. Oh, this will be good.
And let's be real about this. It's insane that we haven't raised the retirement age in the United States. It's totally crazy. Joe Biden, if that were the case, Joe Biden should not be running for president. Hey, Joe Biden is 81 years old. The retirement age in the United States at which you start to receive Social Security and you are eligible for Medicare is 65. Joe Biden has technically been eligible for Social Security and Medicare for 16 years.
Then give him his Social Security and Medicare. Yeah, sure. Whatever. Hell yeah. I mean, yeah, Trump too. Like, Trump is, what, 2 years younger than Joe Biden? Also, like, Ben Shapiro was repping the boy genius aesthetic for so long. And now that he's undeniably in his, what, he's like 40 now? He looks like shit with the stubble, you know? He should stay clean shaven or he should grow a beard. But this, like, ugly in-between nonsense. Yeah, this is Twink Death shit. But it's like, it's bad, you know? Yeah, it looks painted on. It's not just because of the low video quality. I'm just saying, man. Like, commit. Grow a beard.
And he wants to continue in office until he is 86, which is 19 years past when he would be eligible for retirement.
Mm-hmm.
No one in the United States should be retiring at 65 years old. Frankly, I think retirement itself is a stupid idea unless you have some sort of health problem.
That's crazy. Are you really, Ben Shapiro? Are you telling me that, Are you telling me your positions on the rights and privileges of the working class are, like, cartoonishly evil? That's crazy. It's the first I'm hearing about this. Yeah. You should just literally work until you die. Like, literally actually work until you die is the official position of the Ben Shapiro show on the Daily Wire. How do you, this is what I mean. How do you do this, but also work with fake economic populists? Like the Tucker Carlson types. Remember when Tucker Carlson and Ben Shapiro debated and Ben Shapiro got trashed because he's an idiot and he couldn't argue against Tucker Carlson's stupid fake populist bullshit? Like Tucker Carlson was able to wash him even though he was wrong. It's like, how do you work with other... I have no idea. It's crazy. Like, the Republicans have been trying to raise the retirement age and, you know, gut Social Security and stuff for ages now. The problem for them is that their main voter support base is old people. And as it turns out, okay, you know how Republicans have been having a bit of a backlash since getting Roe v. Wade revoked because it's pushing women to be more against them? It would be like that, but double, if they did anything with Social Security and Medicare for old people. It'd be pretty bad.
Everybody that I know who is elderly, who has retired, is dead within 5 years. And if you talk to people who are elderly and they lose their purpose in life by losing their job and they stop working, things go to hell in a handbasket real quick. But put all of that aside, just on a fiscal level.
What? Like, you live to work? No, you live to work. Yeah. I think that after you retire, you can still do stuff. There is like a sliver of truth that I will acknowledge here, which is that the American conception of retirement is extremely grim, where you work until you're old, and then it's like, oh, you've saved up some money, time to do nothing for the rest of your life. That sounds awful. You know, you can still do stuff when you're old. Hell, if you want to, you can even work, you know? There are less physically demanding jobs that you might gain satisfaction from the same way that it's possible for a person who's 30 to enjoy the job that they have. You know, I think that, like, the main issue here is that work for a lot of people is tedium, but tedium is also all they know. So when they retire, they like, couldn't you travel? You can't travel for like 20 years until death unless you're very, 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 very wealthy. But even then, traveling on its own is kind of empty, right? You know, purposeless. Unless you have something rooting it, like someone you're with, or like a family, or some kind of central experience. I'm not saying you should work until you die. I'm just saying that, like, I don't know, I feel like a lot of Americans don't know what they want to do with life if it wasn't for work. And that's, I think, a social issue. I think that, you know, I think that ties to the death of third places and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you can't let work be your entire personality, you know? Anyway, what Ben Shapiro is saying is psychotic. It's like you have like two sides of the spectrum, and the one that he's taking is, no, in order to solve the problem of people feeling purposeless after they retire, they should just work until they die, which, in case, you know, like, okay, thank you, Ben.
Level, and on a logical level. When Franklin Delano Roosevelt established 65 as the retirement age, the average life expectancy in the United States was 63 years old. Today, the average life expectancy in the United States is close.
Okay, once more, anytime you hear a person say average life expectancy when referring to any time period that's before now, alarm bells should be ringing in your head. You know that statistic you've heard about how the average life expectancy was 35 back in the Middle Ages? That's because a lot of babies died. That's average life expectancy. For most of human history, if you were able to make it to adulthood, you could reliably make it into your 70s. We're better about it now. Certainly the average age of like elderly people living has gone up, but only a little bit, really. There are biological limits on how long the human body can keep going, regardless of any medical support or whatever else we can provide it. So more people make it to old age now, but back then, you know, there were a decent number of people who made it to 75, 80, 85. More today, but still. Yeah, we have increased health span as well, which is the more important thing, I would say.
Close to 80. It's totally insane that you believe that you should be able to work from the time that you are essentially 20 to the time that you are 65, which is a 45-year period, pay in, and then you will receive Social Security benefits sufficient to support you and your family, you and your wife or whatever, for like another 20 years. That's crazy talk.
Why? 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 Ben, quick question, really quick. I've got a question. Why? 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 All of this is hypothetical anyway, because it's not like anyone has Social Security benefits anymore. Now that the median job for a person in their 20s is working like 6 different delivery app driver gigs that overlap. You know, they have all of them active on their phone at once, and they're just zipping around. Like, it's all of this is purely hypothetical. It's not like anyone watching this right now is going to retire. It's not like I'm going to retire. You know, there's no Social Security pay-in for sole proprietorship on a YouTube channel, as it turns out. Got to do your own saving for that one. The Social Security barely pays out enough anyway. Now, there is, again, a nugget of truth here when it comes to, like, the ability for us to pay out. And the truth is, and this is the truth, Social Security is going to go bankrupt. We simply will not have enough money to pay everyone, okay? So what can we do about that? Why is that the case? Well, I would argue that this is another example of the problem when you have a government payment program that defers to the cost of private industry. It's the same reason why, if the government is trying to negotiate healthcare costs with private insurance companies or pharmaceutical companies, the pharmaceutical company is like, this vial of medicine, $1 billion. And the government can be like, okay, fine, all right, hand it over, you know, because they're obligated by, you know, by congressional spending. Like, they're going to get the goddamn thing. It's why it's so important for the government to be able to negotiate prices to be lower. Basically, what I'm saying is, care for seniors should be subsidized at a decommodified level. Like, the state should decommodify and heavily subsidize housing and retirement centers for elderly people, so that rather than Social Security being bled away by extremely exploitative retirement homes filled with rapists, the government can manage these programs better and cheaper. You know, they're extremely exploitative. There are a lot of problems with this. It would be the exact same as, like, the government decommodifying housing in an area would be a lot cheaper than the government giving you the money to pay rent. Does that make sense? So this is just another issue of corporations fleecing money the government gives you. You know, the government can give you your Social Security, but that doesn't prevent private corporations from f***ing you over. Sam Cedar on Social Security funding from 335. I love Sam Cedar.
Let's talk. I want to talk about this on, except for that Social Security is great, particularly for people on it. This is a clip. That the biggest part of the budget,
I'll
more
watch
or
this.
less,
I don't care.
is Social Security and Medicare, right?
And Medicaid, yeah.
And Medicaid.
Entitlement programs.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can call them entitlement programs.
They are.
I call them social insurance programs, because
Tomato.
that's what they really are.
That's,
I mean,
90% of the budget, I want to say.
No, the military is about $850 billion. Social Security is like $1.7 trillion. I think Medicare is probably close to like.
Social Security does cost a lot of money, guys, and I do think that it needs to be addressed, but the solution isn't to get rid of Social Security or even raise the retirement age. The solution is to, like, cut out the sort of, like, fiscal the bleeding that we suffer from allowing all these payments to just get absorbed into an exploitative, system of capital raising.
The charge.
700 billion,
It's about
and then there's
60%.
other. Yeah, so, but
more.
It's a high number. It's
No.
a big number. You're right. It's a high number.
You'll find that it's. I think our annual budget is somewhere around like 2.7 trillion, and the military is like 800 billion, 900 billion. That you can see anyways that they show us.
Yeah, pie chart.
But nevertheless, Social Security, Medicare, the two biggest things that the government does are wildly popular. Medicare, you come from the insurance business, you probably know this. To administer health insurance, there's like a 13-15% cost in the administration of that health insurance. For Medicare, 3%. Far more efficient. Far more efficient. And copays are less. I mean, and the whatever you want to call it, consumer satisfaction. I don't like to think of citizens as consumers, but the satisfaction's huge, through the roof, particularly when people use it. It's people appreciate it who don't use it. If I got my parents, they're on Medicare, I'm pretty psyched about it because I don't have to take care of them. My mother's in a nursing home now. It's Medicaid that's doing that. I'm not responsible for that cost. Social Security, through the roof. In fact, I think even a majority of Republicans want to expand.
But
Social Security.
popular is not a way to qualify something. If I
No,
went out there and I
customer
gave,
satisfaction.
if I went to high school and I said, guys, I'm giving dime bags to everybody weed.
Actually, I think that the popularity of a policy that helps tens of millions of people not live in poverty, I think that actually is a very good way of determining how valuable something is in a democratic society. I don't know. I feel like that's at least a factor in it. Maybe.
I'd be a very popular kind of high school. So that is a wrong way to qualify it.
Well, you said efficiency.
Yeah.
Medicare, 3%
Right.
administrative costs versus 15%.
That's like
to
the
private
kid that's running for class president who's like, every Friday we're throwing up.
Garbage fit, by the way. Armholes way too low. This is like some trash off the rack slim fit stuff. Wearing it over a polo. Look at this.
Pizza
Yeah.
party.
Well, if
He's
you
going to
could-
get everybody's vote.
if
But
you could
who's
provide-
paying for the pizza party? Sam?
Well, workers. In fact, I would argue
Sam looks
that
great.
we should be actually
chambray shirt.
removing the cap on Social Security taxes because right now, it goes only up to $160,000, right? There's a cap. Traditionally, Social Security has captured or touched 91% of the country's income. You follow me? And now it's somewhere down in like the mid 80s because of wealth
Yeah, but
inequality.
your argument on the flip side of it, the argument can be as well to say, well, at the beginning when they came out with Social Security, there was only a few thousand people in America that was actually using it. It was not meant to be for.
Yeah, because you pay into it over time. Like that's the whole. Obviously the point of the policy is that it expands over time because when you first roll it out, like people haven't paid into it yet. There wasn't any money initial. Well, they set aside some initial, but it's a payment plan. Like it's meant to be something you invest into. Will they ever get a second argument apart from who's going to pay for it? I personally, do you have any idea what the poverty rates for seniors were like before Social Security? Can I get a chart on that? I'm trying to find a chart that goes all the way back to like 45. But I can't find one because it's harder to track stuff. Hold on. Senior poverty rate 1930s. I can't see anything that goes back that far. Too bad they didn't invent sociology until recently. I'll have to look into it later. Don't want to spend forever just looking for the one thing.
As big of a behemoth
Are
of
you
what it
kidding?
is today.
No,
It
that's
kept
true.
2/3 of our elderly out of poverty. It keeps
well, there you
two-thirds
go.
of our
It didn't-
elderly.
Nobody's
but that's
arguing
not-
the benefits of
That's not the
Social
argument,
Security.
though. That's not the argument. The argument is, originally when it came out, it wasn't for
Well,
the
they couldn't.
bigger
You
percentage.
had to wait. You had to wait.
Yeah, this only goes back to 55, but I want to see it back to when the policy was first implemented. But even here, I mean, you can still see, look at this sharp decline in elderly people, 65 or older. Even back in, what is this, 1960? Even back in, 1959, 35% of seniors, of people of retirement age, were in poverty. And what this would have been like the war on poverty, right? LBJ shit. Look, man, look at that decline. This is the furthest back I could find. Yeah, I think before that you would have to find like, I don't know, treatises written by guys with big mustaches talking about, I don't know, their experiences in the poorhouses of New Jersey or something. And that would be the best you could get for sociological data.
No,
Until you build up the
you
fund.
didn't have to. You had to have capitalist work and overtax them to be able to fund it. That's what you had to do. But let me go back to the question.
Okay. Also, I've never been a big anti-work guy. I think that work can be very liberating and fun in the right context. If you own your work and if you're providing a valuable community service and if your work allows you to be social with the people around you, like, I think that there are some jobs that people of retirement age would not only do begrudgingly, but would enjoy doing. For example, like, mom and pop shops, in their current form, I don't defend them broadly as a concept, but can you imagine being 65 and like you have two roads you can take, okay? You have two choices, all right? One road you can take is you have no more obligations whatsoever, and the rest of your life until you die can be you chilling. And the other path that you can take is from time to time, maybe like 16 to 24 hours a week, as you choose, you can be the cashier or like front person for like a local shop that your community depends on, and people come in and they like you and they talk to you, and you get to like keep up with the gossip of your neighborhood, and your friends would come in to say hi or bring you like a snack when they know it's around your lunchtime, and you would like, there'd be like a cute old lady that you like, and she would drop by occasionally to pretend to buy something, but really she just wanted to talk to you. Like, yeah, you get to jibber jabber, exactly. I think I think that if work is liberating, I think that if work feels community oriented and well adjusted, and it's something that you have the choice to do rather than something you need to do to survive. But at that point, what's the difference between job and volunteering? Well, the pay, presumably. But I think that, I don't know, when I'm old, when I'm like 70 or whatever, I'd like to believe that I would, I don't know, maybe go to a soup kitchen and help out. There are a lot of old people who do stuff like that because, like, clearly they're not doing it to survive because they're not paid to go there, It would just be something they could do. Basically, what I'm saying is, if the work is right, I think people of every age can be, well, not like a baby or whatever, of most every age can be economically productive. And I don't mean that in some ghoulish libertarian way where it's like, you will all be Walmart greeters until you die. I mean, there are jobs people like doing in the right circumstances. And if you're older, it is good for you to keep some pep in your step, to have some obligations to keep you, waking up in the morning, and, there's to shave every day. There are reasons, but I don't want it to be like obligatory. I don't want it to be like, you'll die if you don't do it, but it would help the overall economy if older people were economically productive. I just want it to be something they could choose to do. It's the old saying, right? From each according to their ability, to each according to their need. The idea would just be, if you're old, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have nothing you can offer. My mom is about to retire as a teacher, and she's planning on opening a company that organizes the new pod teaching that was introduced during COVID. She really likes doing stuff like that. That's nice. I work in an animal shelter. You're 10,000% correct. A lot of our volunteers are retirees. They love helping us work because they get to interact with the cats, and it makes them happy while making my job easier. Yeah. No. Yeah, stuff like that. I know this is not universally applicable, and I understand. And the point here is that you shouldn't be forced to do this or die. Right? Like, that's my argument here, is not one against Social Security. My argument is that, like, our economy in general would be healthier at every level if work was less soul crushing. So much social wealth is siphoned off into the coffers of the ultra wealthy. And, a lot of people like never want to work again because work is miserable. So why would they want to, My retired dad now announces at my local high school. Oh, nice. My old man is a retired accountant, but regularly does other people's taxes for a small fee to do something productive. That's awesome. Yeah, I think stuff like that is cool. You've spent an entire lifetime building a skill set. It makes sense that you would, Yeah, also, not to sound like I'm trying to like be patronizing or tell them what's good for them, but it is also good for the health of humans to have a schedule and to have work they have to do consistently. Especially as you get older. You can fight off Alzheimer's and dementia by having a reason to get up, to pay attention to stuff, to focus. That is true. That is the case. Any kind of mental work will keep you active. It's one of the reasons why consistently, whenever you hear about like the oldest people alive, okay, I don't know about you guys, maybe this is just my bias in what I've seen, but when I hear about oldest people alive, it's never like here's some really wealthy European socialite who's done nothing and has like perfectly smooth hands. It's always like, yeah, I'm a 108-year-old Chinese subsistence farmer in the far western provinces, and every morning I wake up at 5 a.m. to tend to my field and da-di-da. Or you hear about some like old Italian grandma who drinks 3 glasses of red wine every day, but they like go on a walk along the beach for 4 hours even though they can barely hobble. And it's like, yeah, I don't know, it's like the whole body is muscle, right? Kind of, you know, it's like you keep a muscle active, you keep the whole body active. It's a process. I do see those stories, but I have no idea if they're representative. Well, being wealthy tends to mean you live longer, but I think that like it's difficult to fully assess how active a person is in the ways that help them live long, you know? Like, I can speak to one stereotype in particular that I'm extremely familiar with, which is old Jewish people. I grew up in a very Jewish neighborhood, and there's at least in Beverly Hills, I've heard this is the case in a lot of Jewish communities in like New York and New Jersey as well, but there's a strong emphasis on incorporating older people in the family unit and keeping them like in the big family gatherings, right? Like if you're an older Jewish person in a lot of these families, because like Protestant white people, like WASPs, old people just get thrown into a retirement home and never talked to again. But I would consistently see like grouchy looking 90-year-old Orthodox Jewish guys with like the hat and the everything, who like, you know, going along with these big families, and they were like they were dressed up in a suit and they would like talk and whatever. And like there were so many ancient people in Beverly Hills, and they weren't like the super wealthy people in the hills. I mean, like, just it seems like just doing stuff helps. I don't know. I've heard this is the case with extended families in like Latin cultures as well, but yeah, I don't know. I just think it would be nice if we didn't have the belief that your life ends when you're old. Miyazaki is like 84 or something, and dude just won a Oscar for Boy and the Heron, you know? I know that he's a unique case. 83? Okay, 83. Like, I know he's a unique case, but like your life doesn't end when you hit retirement age. Your life continues until you die. You are just as alive every day that you're alive until you die. He also lives off pure hatred. Spite should drive the elderly. This is only natural. My grandpa's like 95.
You are saying, just to validate your point, I think at that point, this is FDR back in the day.
Yeah, we can pull up the data.
I think there was 40 workers for every retiree. I think now it's closer to like 3 workers.
Yeah, it's not sustainable.
Yes,
It's not even close.
No, it is sustainable.
You think it's sustainable.
No, I don't think it's sustainable. I'm looking at the Social Security Trust Fund actuarial
with the
table.
letter, when they sent you this, in the Social Security letter, they're telling you if we go this way, this is going to go bankrupt.
No, you're misreading it. The trust fund is going to go bankrupt. In 1981, Greenspan and Reagan expanded the trust fund. We had a surge of baby boomers. There is a trust fund that exists that is essentially like a rainy day fund. That is going to be insolvent around 2033.
2033. 10 years. You are correct. I just had this conversation this past week.
However,
that's not a concern. That's not a concern.
It is a concern.
I really admire Sam Cedar for his ability to engage directly with antagonism in a way that comes across as measured and not like a sneering debate bro, which is something that I'm afraid I can't manage. I would like to adopt that, you know. I guess maybe a lot of it is just age. Like he's just older, so there's a different association, but still. He's great.
It will cause 20% in cuts to our benefits.
Okay.
But that's it, period. Now, the way that we can get rid of that 20% in cuts in the Social Security Trust Fund is to do what I'm suggesting. Remove the cap so that every dollar you make, even above $160,000, is taxed by Social Security.
Sam,
and then your kids will be long dead before that trust fund is out.
Hopefully, if I raise my kids right, my kids won't need to be supported by the government.
They don't need to be...
See, again, this is the ghoulish attitude from these pieces of shit. They don't engage with anything Sam's actually saying. Basically, it's just contempt for the poor. Oh, if I do, if my kids are good, then they won't ever be poor, so it won't matter. That's not an answer to anything Sam Cedar just said. They just don't like poor people.
If they don't
So-
need that social insurance,
Yeah.
look, I mean, how can you, as an insurance guy, how can you not understand that?
No,
I don't sit around saying like, I hope that I don't need my fire insurance. I hope I don't. If your kids don't need Social Security,
Yeah.
old age insurance, then you know what?
But I
we
also
will tax the money back.
I am better for society. I am better for society if I find ways to get people off of needing.
See, again, he doesn't care. He's not engaging with anything Sam Cedars said. This guy, I hate people. They're so, it's like their position is literally just like, don't tax me. Also, I hate poor people. He doesn't get it. No, he does get it. And he's not throating the boot. He just wants to be the boot, or might be the boot. I don't know how much money this guy has. Like, it's not, he just hates poor people. That's it. There's no other explanation for it. Don't tax me. I hate poor people. That's it. You've gone over this guy before and he makes you mad almost every time. He's pretty wealthy. He's very, very rich. Okay, yeah, then he is the boot. Like, this is a guy who's worth, I don't know how many millions, on a podcast where he's like, yeah, poverty's a moral failing and my children won't fall into it. So that's my answer to your actuarial tables, Sam Cedar. Grifter extraordinaire. No, it's not grifting. that word, grifting doesn't mean when you're bad. Grifting means when you're pretending to hold a position. He genuinely believes that. It's not grifting. This is just a reflection of his political beliefs. He had a similar dumbass take on the minimum wage increasing. Oh yeah, this guy's super wealthy. He's worth $450 million, $500 million, and you're on a podcast, and you're wearing this garbage ass shirt. Do you have any idea what kind of clothing I would wear if I was worth $500 million? Look at this, Jesus Christ. Would you get this from Ross? Worse, it was probably a $3,000 shirt that looks like it's from Ross. CIA paycheck, not that good. Not $450 million good, no. 40-year-old at the club ass shirt, true. What is Ross? It's just a discount clothing store. Anyway, we got to finish the Ben Shapiro bit. Somehow making worse versions of these arguments.
That is not fiscally sustainable. The notion that if you have to raise the retirement age to 67 or 68, that everyone is going to fall apart. My parents are that age. My parents are not retired, and they shouldn't retire. It would be very bad for them to retire.
And this is also such an irrelevant discussion because nobody in America who really needs that money is retiring at 65 anyway. You think the average person today can afford to retire at 65? Like, they've effectively solved the deficit in Social Security fund availability by making it so insubstantial and getting rid of pensions and getting rid of like a lot of Social Security contributions so nobody can afford to retire anyway.
By the way, it's disrespectful to people who are 67, 68, 69 years old to suggest that they are in the same shape as people who are 65.
What? Just reaching for anything to say, just any possible, just any argument you could possibly.
For in 1940. It's not true at all. Have you met a 65-year-old lately? 65-year-olds are not old in the United States. They're not.
You're not forced to retire at 65. You can keep working past 65. A lot of people keep working past 65. I don't even know what point he's trying to make.
58-year-olds are not old in the United States. Again, Joe Biden thinks he's not old, and that dude is running for president again, and that dude actually is old, and he's 81. I failed to see.
I think Ben Shapiro is insulting 83-year-olds by suggesting that 81-year-olds are just as old as 83-year-olds. I don't know what I just said meant, but neither did he, so.
See how a country in which our entire leadership class is 80 plus is telling you that we should have a retirement age of 65. It makes no sense at all.
Do you think he knows that retirement is a choice? Like, do you think that he thinks, because this is like the libertarian boogeyman, it's basically like the retirement version of the welfare queen, where right-wing racists think that black women were getting like steak dinners every night because the government gives them like $900 a month or something for whatever reason, for being a single mom or some shit. Do you think he thinks that like the average American who right now can barely make ends meet is just like pleasantly retiring at 65? Like that's the reality? I feel like this is what Ben does now. He tries to debunk the central point by pretending he can't understand it through his stomach. He's always done that. He's always done that. Ben Shapiro literally got popular off of the facts don't care about your feelings, there are only two genders bit, where he constantly pretended to not understand the difference between sex and gender, even though it was explained to him many times in debates. And when it was explained to him, he would go, okay, so let's assume that and move forward. And then he would just pretend that he hadn't in the future. It's not... That strategy has been going on for a while. My right mustache, or sorry, yeah, my right mustache has been feeling weird lately, and I'm not sure why. Like it's misaligned. Facial hair is very weird, you know? You know how you have bad hair days? That applies to beards, too. It's just weird. Viathan, I don't care. He needs to stop using his social security checks on foundation and eyebrow pencils. Yeah, I suppose.